So we're here today with the one, the only, the Lettuce King. Today we'll be talking about the I-70 Colorado accident. We have a number of questions to go through for today. The first one's going to be, for you guys, what went wrong here in your guys' opinion?
Take the lead, Lettuce King.
Wow. Well, that's because I'm always in the lead, Dave. I believe what went wrong first off was the guy shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. Not being an experienced mountain runner, everybody needs to learn at some point. I just don't think that should have been his first outing, basically.
Yeah.
I definitely think not being able to speak or have a command of the English language, being able to communicate with people, was another major cause. And then not knowing how his equipment reacted in that situation. Brakes, how the such.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, it's, we were talking with that, and you almost wonder, for the American licenses, you have to have an endorsement for hazmat and an endorsement for this. It almost makes you wonder if they shouldn't have an endorsement for mountain driving. Because clearly, here's a guy out of Flatland, Texas, only a couple of years experience. Should he even have been in that situation in the first place? Should they have given him that load and said, the interstate's your training ground, roll the dice, good luck with it, see how it works out for you. I don't think he should have been in that situation in the first place. And it used to be a law, if I'm not mistaken, that you had to have a command of the English language to get a truck license. You had to be able to read the signs, you had to be able to speak the language, or they just didn't give you the license. And I've been checked for that down there.
Well, you had to be able to speak the license to get or speak the language to get the license, because you had to write the test. You had to be able to read the questions. You didn't have an interpreter or whichever. Now, it was my understanding that in Texas, he was able to get the license in Spanish.
That's right.
Correct.
I read that too.
But Colorado doesn't have signs in Spanish and Chinese and whatever other language. You can't have runaway truck ramp signs with 15 different languages in it. And so, kind of off topic, I guess, isn't it? But if you can't speak it or read it, you have no business being on the road.
Exactly.
Is my thought.
I agree. And the carrier had to know well enough his limited ability when it came to language, the English language.
Sure, I mean, obviously they would have known that, and they probably shouldn't have sent him to where he was at. Having said that, we know that, maybe he didn't directly go there. He might have taken a load to, I don't know, somewhere, and then ended up having to go there to get wherever. And maybe that's the route he took. So, is it on the carrier? To a point. Would they have sent a guy out that's never driven a truck with a load of gasoline?
Yeah.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
But
hopefully not.
So yeah, I think it's a lot on the carrier and a lot on the, government, and the guy obviously has some blame there, but I think the inexperience played the biggest role of it.
Yeah, I would agree. I just kind of automatically assumed that he was on the backhaul from someplace else because he was loaded with lumber coming from the west, which is what you'd pick up out west. So my assumption was he delivered further west and he was on his way back to Texas.
Coming down from Idaho or somewhere.
Yeah, something like that.
Coming across there.
So
and that would be your route. Instead of staying on 15 heading towards Vegas, you would go over the hill and
so maybe he's the guy that chose the route without realizing.
But his carrier, again, would have known where he was going.
Yeah.
And then mechanically, I mean, if the guy's been driving such a short time, probably really doesn't understand how brakes work. You push the pedal on, the truck slows down.
Yeah.
But how many people know that when they get hot, it's the drum that expands so the shoes can't
Yeah.
make contact anymore, and who would know that if you hold it for that long,
Like he was coming, he was damn near through the mountains and into Denver. And did you notice watching the video? There was no smoke. His brakes weren't smoking in that video when he was coming down the hill and he blew past the runaway lane.
Yeah.
There was no smoke, which means he's probably burned out his brakes
long
miles
ago.
back.
Yeah, and if you're
You
already
know?
doing 85,
Yeah.
like the video I seen, again, opinion wise, but he was already done
He was done.
long before that because look at California when you come down the Grapevine. What was the speed limit there? It was 25 miles an hour.
Yeah,
or something. I don't even remember.
I don't
what
remember
it was
anymore.
ridiculous how slow
Yeah,
he
it
had to
was
go.
stupid slow.
But coming down through there, if at that speed, he was already done.
He was-
you couldn't have recuperated
No,
from that, no matter what you did.
that's right.
So it was probably long ago. He'd already
He was
tried
in
the brakes
trouble.
out and then get to the top, but he probably had enough.
So you guys have touched on this slightly already, but if I could get a confined list and the long list of people who were involved that are to shoulder the blame for what happened in this accident.
Well, I got to say, yep, he's partially at fault. I don't think he has the majority of the blame, but there's no doubt he bears some responsibility here. But I'd like to hang blame on the carrier. And they had a history of brake violations, as it turns out. I'd like to blame Texas, the Department of Transport in Texas, for giving him the license, knowing he had a language issue, because they must have known. And I'd like to blame the FMCSA, whose entire job is to oversee carrier safety. Yet the standard of training is so low in the United States that they have wrecks like this all the time. So, and nothing ever changes. In fact, it gets worse and worse every year. You can look at the stats, more and more truck accidents every year. Everybody knows it. Why aren't these guys shouldering the blame and actually doing something concrete about it instead of getting worse over it?
Well, again, this guy does have some fault here, right? But you're right. All these other departments, but they're making this guy the sacrificial lamb, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to take blame for that. You get to the carriers. Look at like Swift. You got to have 2 or 3 months of driving experience to be a trainer.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It takes nothing to go and no experience, no anything to get a license. I mean, it should be almost like, isn't it here now in where we are, where you got to go and at least take the course and have some, I don't know. When I started, I went with a guy and drove with this guy for weeks for free. And, he taught me all the bad stuff too, but I learned a lot of stuff that you wouldn't learn from a guy that's been driving from 3 months for Swift in an automatic truck. It's just, but I think the majority of the fault is in the system.
Yeah, I would I would agree. The FMCSA.
This guy didn't know any better.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's right.
Basically, you just put him in a truck and just said go.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck.
It's not a Toyota Corolla. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane.
Yes.
The lack of training.
Exactly. But they're famous
They are famous
for shoveling the blame to whoever can't defend
Yeah.
themselves.
Oh yeah.
The guy didn't go out there that morning and wake up and said, you know what, I'm going to kill 4 people.
Yeah. But there's no way. The carrier's folded, so they're going to have a hard time
Sure.
laying any of the blame on
Sure.
the carrier.
And there's a tells you exactly what the deal is there.
Yeah.
They're folded up and heading out of town.
Yeah. No one from the DOT in Texas is going to do a day's worth of time behind bars for this.
Nope.
The FMCSA, they're untouchable. All they do is they're just bureaucrats that come in
Yep.
and have coffee and go home and nothing ever gets done.
Sure.
They won't spend a day in jail. The flaw is in the lack of enforcement and in the lack of training. And you know, the cops can only do so much. They can't pull over every truck driver and check
No.
them out. It's the training, and the FMCSA is supposed to mandate all these training rules that just go right out the window. And that's what put this poor sucker in a position in the first place.
And also, you said that you touched on the enforcement thing. You remember we used to have to stop at the top of the hill at the brake checks
Yeah.
all the time, and there was
Yeah.
always a guy sitting up there
Yeah.
watching. You know, if you rolled by that one at the top of Cajon or something like that, man,
They'd pull you over.
sure.
Yeah, they
Does
pull
that
you over.
happen anymore?
You know what? I don't think so.
I doubt it,
I
because the
don't
guy's
think so.
probably down at Dunkin' Donuts on his phone.
Or they didn't have the funding to have the extra guy to
Sure.
sit up there and watch.
There's
them.
another one.
That's, you know what, I forgot about that. But
Yeah.
that's right. There was always a
Sure there
cop
was.
or somebody or a DOT sitting up there to make sure that you didn't roll
Yeah.
by the brake check.
Exactly. Right?
That's
and if
true.
that had happened there, who knows how that would have played it.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, good point.
So-
Good point.
Yeah.
All right, so there are mixed opinions on this, but I'm going to ask one of you at a time to answer this. Does he deserve 110 years? Why or why not? Whoever wants to go first is amongst yourselves there.
No, I don't, in my opinion, think he should get the 110 years. I think he should get some sort of punishment for it, but I think his role in it wasn't anywhere near worthy of 110 years when you look at other crimes that are committed that get less time. Like I touched on earlier, right? The guy that execution style shot that female police officer that's out on parole in New York there now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the guy woke up and said, I'm going to go kill a bunch of people today. So I don't think it's worthy of that extreme of a situation, especially when you look at the precedents. Like the guy that killed those 4 people up here in that fiery crash on the 401, barreling into everybody. And that was a negligence thing. He was on his phone, blah, blah, blah. And you know, he didn't get that.
Yeah.
So why are they hanging this guy out to dry? Probably because it's social media and it's all over the world or the news or the country, and they got to hang somebody and hang them high.
Huh. Yeah, maybe. I thought 110 years was just way over the top. And you know, I heard the judge say that he was controlled by law as to the confines of the type of sentence and how long he could issue, and he obviously didn't agree with it. But what kind of a screwy system is that? Sammy Gravano, who murdered 19 people, got 5 years, and this guy gets 110. Like that defies logic. Look at the guy when that Humboldt accident happened out in Saskatchewan. That guy killed 14 people and got 8 years. And I remember thinking, you know, and I had to hum and haw and think about that, whether that was a fair sentence or not. I didn't know. You know, I could have gone either way, but this, there's just no doubt in my mind that I thought that was stupid over the top. Just ridiculous.
An accident caused by inexperience is nowhere near, in my opinion, worth life sentence.
Yeah.
You know, extreme example, Paul Bernardo,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Life sentence for carving up and killing young girls.
Yeah.
Is the same as this guy 110 years in jail.
That's right. Yeah. And there's no comparison.
You can't compare the two.
No.
And again, this, I don't know about the Humboldt guy, what his experience was, but again, that was caused by lack of experience.
Yeah. Immigrant driver,
You know,
no experience.
And these carriers that are just taking people off the boat or off the street or off of whatever, because I think a lot of it comes down to a lot of the experienced guys are packing it in because they don't want to put up with a lot of the new
Yeah.
crap out there.
Yeah.
You know, that's a whole different subject, but you know, the ELDs and all the other crap that, you know, and they just go, you know what, I'm just going to get a job like I did, where,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't need that crap anymore,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that in desperation, they're just grabbing whoever.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, you shove somebody in it and say, there you go, have a nice day, here's your, you know, fuel card
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah.
I think they're the ones to blame. I think the people that make the rules to the loopholes to get these licenses and are to blame,
Yeah.
not the guy. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's just.
Yeah, I think the whole system needs to be reworked
Sure.
from the bottom up.
Yeah.
And if the industry needs all new drivers,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently it does now anymore, they should focus way more on training. And
Yeah.
if they paid better, they would attract better people, I would think, and maybe keep some of the older guys longer, get rid of some of these stupid rules, and I think the whole system
Yeah.
needs to be reworked from the bottom up.
And you know, the other thing too is that when it comes to the sentence and things, you know, they're always looking to appease John Q. Public. People
Yeah.
are so quick to judge this guy that don't know the facts, that don't know the industry, and you know, the truck driver killed all these people.
Yeah.
Right? Hang them.
Yeah, it
right?
makes good
you
press.
Know? And well, yeah, and social media and it all, you know, and they just pile on.
Yeah.
know, it's just
Yeah.
and so that's 110 years is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I know it's a very passionate subject for some people, you know, because obviously 4 people died and that's terrible.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? But you know, it's just a different circumstance than if that
Yeah.
guy had walked into a school and shot 4 people.
Yeah, yeah. Like, there's no taking away from the tragedy of the
Sure.
accident here.
It's terrible.
But I mean, the guy, it was an accident.
Right.
You can tell.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
distraught and full of remorse.
Right.
He didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
He's a human being.
Yeah.
Find one that hasn't made a mistake.
Sure. And
So-
what are the sentences for the guy that walks into the school and shoots 4 people?
Yeah.
What did he get?
Yeah.
Or 20 people or
Yeah.
whatever. Life.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're lucky, life with
Yeah.
probably with parole.
Yeah.
And this guy's getting the same thing for that.
yeah. Yeah.
No.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Just wrong.
As some final thoughts to give to our viewers, what advice would the two of you give to a brand new driver to make sure that they don't end up in this same scenario?
I would say that this accident is proof positive that as a new driver, you've pretty much got to take care of yourself, because there's a good chance you haven't received proper training for all the situations you find yourself in. So be extra cautious, think everything through, move more slowly and carefully than you think you might have to, and just be careful, because there's a million different scenarios that you'll run across here. So you've just got to be careful. Be very, very careful. And don't think you've got the whole thing figured out after a year or two. It takes years and years to master these big trucks.
Yeah, I think again, when you're starting out, always expect the unexpected. Never know what you're going to encounter. You know, you have to look after yourself because nobody's going to do it for you. Never be afraid to voice your concern about your equipment. You know, if, you know, with inexperience, you don't know sometimes that you've got a problem. But, you know, in a situation like that, on that road with that deal and not knowing what you're going to face, you know, the best thing you can do is just be very, very, very cautious.
Yeah.
You know, because he was put in an impossible situation. Really, like there's.
And if you don't know the road,
Well, then yeah, you obviously.
just creep down the damn
Yeah,
road
yeah.
until you learn what the road's like.
Yeah, it's a very hard
Yeah.
woulda, shoulda thing.
Yeah. Tough
you know.
call. Yeah.
He shouldn't have even have been there in the first place.
Yeah.
But if he had have been, you know, that's
Yeah.
that's not really advice, is it?
No, but it's still, you know. He could be at the top of the hill and not realize what he was getting into.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he should have known to stop at brake checks, but maybe nobody taught him.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know?
sure nobody
You
taught
know,
him.
it's like-
Nobody obviously taught him what the runaway ramp was for.
Well, you would think it was somebody's driveway. You know, if you can't read the sign, maybe he didn't know what a runaway truck ramp was.
I'm sure he
it's-
didn't. Yeah.
You know, but who knows what? When you're panicking, do you really think, "Hey, look at that! I wonder what that is"? You
Yeah,
know, or
no,
you're
you-
just like, "Holy
Your heart's racing and you're just
Sure.
hanging on for dear life.
sure." I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've had shit like that happen, but and anybody that hasn't is lying.
Yeah, no, it's happened to me.
You know, I've had
Yeah.
things happen to me that, you know, and it's a learning experience. You got to learn from your experience. It's all.
And like we were saying earlier, one of the tragedies of this was that in the United States, all sorts of these great big hills end in a city metropolis. Think about it: Denver, Salt Lake,
Yeah.
Sacramento.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
maybe they should have rethought that whole thing too.
Well, when they built those in the 50s,
Yeah.
it probably wasn't quite like that, but
Yeah.
still, that's another whole
Yeah.
issue. But and you know, another thing you can do is ask older guys if you can find them for some help, some
Yep.
advice. You know, sometimes you'll get good advice, sometimes you'll get stupid stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because it happens. I remember the first time I went out west, I asked on the radio somebody about going over Truckee. And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, when you get to the top, it's really tight. Watch for that tree. You got to go." And I was like, "What?" Like, I was scared to death.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I got up on top and went down and went, that was a piece of cake.
No big deal.
But, you know, how many times have you had to go and ask an old guy?
Oh,
You know,
I did it all the time.
older than you.
That's how I learned.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hanging
So-
around with the old guys.
So that would be the best advice
Yep.
but, you know,
Don't be afraid to ask.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask anything. 'Cause
Yeah.
somebody will tell you.
Yeah. So in conclusion, stay safe,
Keep the rubber side down.
and we'll see you on the backhaul.